Hey there, I'm Elizabeth Henson. Welcome to the Messy Success Podcast, where I'm helping creative dreamers and overachievers tackle business and life. After 6 years of being my own boss, I finally unraveled a tiny bit of what it takes to survive in this amazing world of being an overly creative entrepreneur. I'm your business bestie, here to help you with all those big ideas and to normalize some of the day-to-day struggles that we all share. My mission is simple. I want more women to make a living doing what they love and to feel good about themselves in the process. The best way to start? We can't do it alone. So welcome. I hope you'll hang out with me here where it's totally okay to be messy. Hello, friends of mine. Welcome to another episode of the Messy Success Podcast. Elizabeth here. I have such an amazing guest for you guys today. So today, my dear friend, Kaitlyn Kessler is going to be joining us. So Kaitlyn helps online business owners shift into a business that is aligned, profitable, and effortless. She has a podcast called the Effortless Podcast, which I was actually a guest on her podcast a few weeks back. And so many of you messaged me that listened and you loved it and you loved her. And I'm just so excited to now have her on my podcast. So Kaitlyn and I have had a lot of overlap through the years, but we didn't actually truly connect until our journey being on Team Wedmore. So you guys are going to start meeting some of the other Team Wedmore coaches, people that I'm meeting through that circle, that network, that are just so incredible. And, I didn't tell you guys a whole lot about that process or what that looks like, but we all just have this thing in common, right? That we were chosen for this opportunity, and it has just really brought us together. It's really magical. But Kaitlyn also used to work with Raina, and if you guys listened to my podcast when I first started, I had a lot of my Raina connections on here. Raina Pomeroy from Raina & Co. So it's just really cool to see, how our communities and networks and relationships do overlap. And this is why the work that we do, building communities, building relationships really, really matters. I mean, even going all the way back to episode 2, where I talk about how relationships can leverage your success. I mean, this is such a foundational piece of the work that I do and why this is all so important. And that's one of the reasons why I like to always share how I met someone or how we, overlapped in the industry or how we became friends on social media versus real life. I really just enjoy sharing those little things with you guys because it matters. And I like to look at each one of them as like a little building block, right? Like every person that we meet is a little building block to our community and we are to theirs, and it should work both ways. But you guys are going to absolutely love Kaitlyn. You're going to love this episode. She is so fun and just has this wisdom about her. She's so creative. I love that she says instead of woo woo, she's got one woo. So she really brings all the mindset stuff together. This is a great conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started for you guys. All right. Hello, Kaitlyn. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you today. And I just want to dive right in. And I want you to tell everyone what you do currently, but I'm so excited to dig into your pivot of how you got there. So welcome. Tell us all the things.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited to dive into all the things too. So, what I do currently, I am a coach for online business owners. I work pretty much primarily at this point with service based business owners who are kind of hitting that wall where they're like, I am starting to resent my clients. I am working too much. This isn't the freedom I signed up for. And they're looking to really kind of shift their business into something that feels a little bit more aligned to what they love doing. And with that comes the money and the ease and the effortlessness and the fun and all those good things. And so that's kind of where I like to live and operate and help people with. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know the light and easy, I feel like has been my focus of 2020. Like, how can I, everything I say yes to, everything that I do, how can I have that conversation with myself so it feels light and easy? So I
Mhm.
know it hasn't always been super light and easy for you. So tell us about what you used to do before.
Yeah, so I have like a double journey, I feel like. So when I started my business, I started as a branding designer, and that was a decision that I don't even know if I would call it a decision. It was just like what I thought I had to do kind of thing, because I was working as a designer and I saw other people offering branding design, and so I was like, "Oh, that's just what I do if I wanna have an online business." Like, I didn't really put much thought into it. I just was like, "This is what you're supposed to do. Okay." And so I did that for a year. And, while I did have some clients and things like that, it always felt so hard. And I always felt so overwhelmed. And like, it just was not the best year one in business. It wasn't like the motivational story where it's like, and then I made $10,000 in 2 months. Like, no, that's not, I think I made $10,000 of credit card debt in 2 months. So like, um, but anyway, so then near the end of that year, I was, just feeling really like exhausted and burnt out, and I just wasn't getting it. Like it just wasn't clicking yet. And I was talking with a client who I had really enjoyed working with, and she had asked me to stay on and do like PDFs and things like that for her content upgrades. And I remember saying to her, I was like, I just wish I could do like this. Like I just wish there was more people that would hire me for this. She was like, well, there are. And it was
Like,
like,
that's a thing.
so yeah, it was like such a light bulb moment that I was like, oh, like I could do this thing that I actually want to do, that I feel excited to do, that I'm good at, like all of these things. And so I shifted into that in year two of my business and did that from year two to basically like year four. And it was awesome as far as like, it was that aligned business, it was that profitable business, it was that effortless business. And like to most people, it would sound kind of nuts to be like, and then I threw it all away. But it's kind of that journey of like, from good to great, like you kind of have to let go of good. And so that's kind of what this pivot into coaching has been, is like I love the design and I love that work, but I don't think it's like my life's work. And if I want to start stepping into my life's work, I'm going to have to pivot a little bit. So I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, and get uncomfortable. And I love the life's work, and that's so true. And I had a similar journey with photography and wedding
Mhm.
photography, and I can't wait to hear about your photography background as well. Because I have a graphic design background and chose photography, and it sounds like you kind of had a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
Um, but, it's like I still love photography so much, and I know that I'll always do it in some capacity,
Mhm.
but it's like I just always kind of, like, crave more, and then when I started helping other women start their photography businesses, I was like, "Ooh, I actually like the part of them, like, falling in love with being a business owner more than I love the part of, like, teaching them photography." So,
Yeah.
it's kinda like we realize what makes us happy by trying different things and by doing different things. So,
Mhm.
I always tell people, like, it's so much pressure when you pivot. And I don't know about you, but I had to take like a huge pay cut in the beginning to be able to pivot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you're like, yeah, I took on $10,000 of credit card debt. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, every business owner has been through that at some point. And I always try to remind myself, like, what if I had a brick and mortar? Like, imagine the amount of
Mhm.
debt that we would have if we had more overhead than we do.
Oh, totally. Completely. Yeah, that's this year with pivoting has been, my business expenses have been higher than they've been in the past 4.5 years, and they're still lower than what's normal in business, but I'm like, oh my god. But they're
Yeah,
still like
yeah.
monumentally different than what like a brick and mortar or a more traditional business that we would have learned about in school would tell you to expect. So I find that
Right. It's like
funny.
sometimes we just need that perspective of like, okay, well, how do you think like so and so feels that actually has this like boutique and had to take that huge risk? I'm like, oh yeah, like we are pretty lucky that we get to work from our
Yeah.
homes or, whatever that looks like.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. But yeah, it
So
is scary.
how did photography get in the mix? Was that in school?
Yeah. So in school, I have a fine arts degree and I focus on photography because at the time, and I now realize this is a trend for myself, I I like to kind of put myself on the different path. And so when I started college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll just major in like math because that was like the only thing that I was good at, which is so weird because like that's just weird. And I was like, I don't even know what you do with that. And so I remember I went to the what's her name, like a guidance counselor or whatever they're called in college. I was like, I don't really know what I want to study. I think it would be really cool to be like the girl that like works at a fashion. The Devil Wears Prada had just come out, so I was like, I think it'd be really cool to be like the girl who like works at a fashion magazine and like lays out the stuff. And she was like, oh, you should do design or maybe photography and like go in like a path of art direction. And I was like, design seems kind of hard to get into because it was like a pretty like tight thing. I was like, I'll do photography and I'll be like so creative and da 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 and all this kind of stuff. And I went through photography and I did like all of my extracurriculars and all my internships were more in design. But I went through photography and um, it was so different. Like it taught me how to be an artist, which is amazing. It has made the way I think and understand and see the world like great. I can have a great conversation about that kind of stuff, over cocktails. But it didn't really help me with like business. And I kind of feel like maybe design would have helped me more with like some of those things. But anyway, so photography was what my like degree is in, and I dabbled in it after college. I worked for photographers, but I did their design. Like I did their like wedding album design and invitation design. So I feel like I've always kind of like been in both worlds, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
so funny. So I was the opposite where all my I was a fine arts major too, which is so cool. We're like the same. And I had to choose between photography and graphic design. And I'm like, oh, like if I do photography, I'll always work for myself and it'll be really hard. But design, there's like jobs everywhere. And everyone was like, just pick design. It's easy, it's in demand. And I did it. And then all my like little side classes were photography. And oh my God, like I am not a graphic designer like at all.
See, that's what's funny is because like I feel like my brain works really well in that way. Maybe the math thing kind of makes sense because I feel like I think very like meticulously, which was good for photography because then it was like we're mixing chemicals and all this kind of stuff in the darkroom, and like you do need to be a little meticulous. But it was like I don't know. I feel like I design is like you have to have both sides firing at once. Like you have to be like creative and precise. Or at least that's how I've always approached it. I don't know.
No,
I might
yeah, you do have to be detail oriented, like especially with like the letting and the kerning and like, there's a lot and the spacing, like everything needs to be lined up perfectly. And I just like didn't come to it naturally, but I do think having that graphic design background made me a better photographer and like vice versa, just like having
yeah.
that art background. But yeah, I'm the same as you. I'm like, if I could do it all over, I would incorporate some type of business like
Oh,
education.
totally. Yeah. And I used to joke, like, went by the end of college, I was like, wow, like, I can't think of a different degree that I would rather have. At the time, this is what I would have said. Now I can't think of a lot of degrees because I love learning. But I
Yeah.
can't think of a different degree I would rather have. But I am recognizing that I'm really prepared to go be like a starving artist, but I'm not really prepared to do like much else. And I used to really reject the idea of working for myself. Like I never had an interest in doing that until all of a sudden I was doing that. And now I'm like, oh, like of course like I would never not do like now it's like it makes so much sense. But uh however many years ago that was, like 10 years ago, I was like, no, never.
Yeah. Did you ever have like a 9 to 5 job or have you always been an entrepreneur?
To be honest, I've never had like a very like air quote real 9 to 5 job. So I've had the closest was right after college. I had like an internship that was like unstructured, like 9 to 5. And so that's the closest. But then I did not like that. And I went and worked for the photographers, like I mentioned, and I was doing basically like all of their design pieces. And we had a lot like really just flexible hours then, like because they were a small business, and so it was like more like 11ish to 4ish kind of
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
but like
yeah.
sometimes on weekends, and it's kind of just a little bit more flexible in that regard. And then right before I moved to Charleston, I had again like for a couple of months a more traditional 9 to 5, and I just like hated it. And I always thought like, oh, it's just the job or it's just the city or just thing. I'm like, maybe it's just like I don't do 9 to 5s actually. Like I'm the common denominator here.
Right. Yeah, yeah, totally. Oh my gosh.
So
I feel
really,
like
like no.
with graphic design, like the one thing they failed to like prepare me for was like, by the way, this is going to be like 8 hours in a cube. because I had two design jobs like right out of college.
Yeah.
Yep, you're gonna sit in a cube for 8 hours a day, and I was a college athlete, like, outside all the time, and I was going crazy, like,
Yeah.
abs and it wasn't like the workload was so intense that I was so busy that the time was going fast. It was, like, kinda slow, and I was, like, doodling and doing illustrations and, like,
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like,
That's
yeah,
how
it
I always
just
felt too, and, like, in my brief stints, I was always like, "Now what?"
yeah,
Like
yeah, I know, and then but you're still working for someone else, so you can't exactly, like, do your own thing, and, I was like, "I should start a business," but, like, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
funny. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So,
Totally.
pivoting from design into coaching,
Mhm.
what has been, like, the hardest thing or, like, your biggest lesson that you've overcome? Because I know a lot of my listeners have pivoted or are pivoting, and a lot of times
Yeah.
it is in some form of service, industry into coaching or teaching.
Yeah, yeah, I feel for anyone going through that shift because it's a little scary.
Feel like I'm still
I
very much in it. Like, I feel like I finally, like, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, you know? Like, I feel like I
Yeah.
can let go of weddings whenever I'm ready. But, yeah, I still like I'm very much in it for a big part.
Yeah, so you might agree with this, but I have found that I had to relearn lessons that I'd already learned in, like, year 1, year 2 of business. Um, but, like, when I relearned them, I noticed them a lot quicker and I could learn it a lot quicker, and then there was this sense of, like, frustration of, like, "Well, you already know that." And so I think the biggest lesson has been forgiving myself and releasing that pressure of, like, "It's okay. I'm gonna have to, like, kind of relearn things and learn to trust myself again and learn to honor what I want and honor what I need." Like, for some reason, I felt like if I look back now on the actual time of pivoting, which was about a year ago, it seems like it reset this, like, meter in me of, like, trusting myself to make decisions and trusting myself to act on what I think I want to do, and feeling like, oh, I need so and so to tell me and I need so and so to tell me. And while I think there's a lot of people that can help you, coaches, courses, all those things are great, at the end of the day I think it, like, you know what's best for you, and you might need some coaching to help you actually make those decisions and act on it. But, like, I kind of believe that we all really do know what's best for us, and I feel like I kind of had to reset and relearn to trust that, if that makes sense.
No, totally. I think I went through some of that too without even realizing it. But, it's like our intuition is never wrong. And I think
Mhm.
my biggest struggle was reminding myself constantly, like, it took you 2.5 years to build a photography business that could replace your teaching salary. Like, this is me
Mhm.
talking to myself. 2.5 years. And I was getting so frustrated that I couldn't make a full time salary from coaching in like 6 months.
Mhm.
Like I wanted to just like, oh, I'm so smart. I'll wave my magic wand and I can do whatever I want. And I'm like, no, it's not always that easy. Even when we have the confidence and we're so think we can do everything. I'm like, no, it took 2.5 years to do this in photography. So stop
Yeah.
assuming that coaching is going to be different.
And just to add to that, 2.5 years, and, like, the online landscape has changed so much since I started my business. And I don't mean to sound like it was so much better then or anything like that, because that's not true or whatever. But it's like in 2015, all I had to do was write a bunch of how-to articles on Pinterest, and suddenly my blog traffic was out of control. Now there's, like, so much more of that. So it's like, how do you continue to, like, step into who you are so that you can, stand out and connect with the right people? Whereas I feel like in, the years past when I was starting the first business, like, that wasn't as necessary. Like, it was a little bit easier to just kind of stand out versus, like, no, I really need to own who I am and what I do and all this kind of stuff that I think is maybe a little bit more important now in just a more, I don't want to say, like, crowded, but, like, just in a more, what's the word that James always uses? Like, smarter is not the right word. There's a word here that is really good, but
Like
I
it's
can't think of it.
yeah,
Sophisticated, a more
yeah.
sophisticated marketplace. There it is. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're so right, and I've never really thought about that, like, in 2013, like, it was really easy for me to grow as a photographer because all I had to do is blog about it. Blogging was so huge then,
Mhm.
and now it's kind of like we really have to rely on video, like, we're all doing video, we're all podcasting, we're all really hyper focused on getting our people the content in the quickest digestible list, most digestible way
Mhm.
versus like this perfectly planned out blog post a couple times a week. Now it's all about like IGTV or whatever. And
Yeah.
so the whole landscape has changed. You're so right.
Yeah, yeah. But all of that to say, like, if someone's listening, they're like, should I pivot?" Like, I think it's worth following what you know you're meant to do and want to do. So even if
Absolutely.
it feels a little hard at sometimes, I do think ultimately it's all worth it.
Absolutely, and that's, like, when we operate from that place, like, our highest good,
Mhm.
that we know we're meant to do, I feel like the results come so much easier anyway. It's just, like, we fight ourselves on it and we don't realize it.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah.
something really cool that I've been working with my James client. So, those of you listening, Kaitlyn and I are both on Team Wedmore, and he's like struggling making all these decisions behind the scenes, and every week he's got a new chart and like this new thing to show me that is like something I can't understand because it's like an
Mhm.
Excel sheet or a flow chart. And I'm like, I can see you on stage, right? And this is like a common thread with so many clients, and I'm sure you've seen the same thing. Like,
Mhm.
this person can get on stage and command an audience and be in their power and be like one of the most inspiring people ever,
Mhm.
but behind their computer screen they're like squirreling and struggling. And I'm like, every decision that you make this week, I want you to pretend you're on stage in front of your audience and make every decision from that version of yourself. I don't know
Yeah.
how that went. We'll find out in a week.
Yeah, but I do love that, and I do agree with that. It's yeah, yeah. We're all so much more
Yeah.
capable than we give ourselves credit for when it's like us alone in our offices, like trying to get stuff done.
Yes, like, and getting stuck in perfectionism or getting stuck in, like, this landing page has to be perfect and this, like, welcome sequence has to be perfect, and it's like, no, just operate from that place where you help people
Mhm.
when you make those decisions, and everything will take care of itself.
Oh, I completely agree. I literally was just writing content like about that specifically this morning. For my podcast, I was like outlining some stuff, and it was like I had this realization within the past few months where it was see if I can articulate it without sounding too confusing. I recognized that I was taking kind of a back seat and I was operating from this place of maybe more of like resignation than of like acceptance or something like that. Like, and if you look at those externally, like they might look the same, like you're not really doing much, right? Like you're waiting. But like I was coming from this place of like, well, whatever, like da 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 da, like just this not place of serving or place of love, but more of this place of like not enoughness and lack and all of those sorts of things. And recognizing that like I thought I was doing the right actions by letting things kind of flow and unfold, but I wasn't coming from the right intention, if that makes sense. And so I kind of feel
Ah,
like that is what in a way you're talking about is like how can you come back to starting from a place of like service, starting from a place of like wanting to help others and be a positive impact and stuff in the world. So, yeah.
yeah, that's, like, where I feel like the word strategy gets so muddy for me because nobody wants to be like, strategied. Like, nobody
Yeah.
wants to be a part of your strategy. People wanna be a part of your life and a part of, like, that authentic connection. So that's, like, definitely of course, I have strategies in my business, but the word in general always just, like, kinda gives me hives, and I think that's kind of the reason why, like, I don't want to systematize something that is work that's from my heart and my
Mhm.
intuition.
Yeah.
So there's always that fine line of like, how can we just be the visionary and have the rest of our company take care of all that icky stuff?
I totally feel you on that. Yeah. I mean, I have strategies as well, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, not even in the back of my mind, in the forefront of my Instagram feed, I say a lot about like the strategy matters, but it doesn't matter if you don't have some of this other stuff in place first. And that's like wanting to be a good force in the world and loving your people and loving what you do, like all of those things. Uh, no amount of strategy is going to like overcome those things not being there. That's how I kind of feel at the end of the day. And I think maybe you do too.
Yes. No, absolutely. Okay, so one of the other things I want to dive into that I love that you talk about was kind of the realization you had on Instagram reel lately about like not having to work so hard. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is like, tell us a little bit about your typical day because I love how you share in the mornings. Like, I'm like, you can tell I totally like creepy stalky you, but it's like you'll have like three things on your list, and you're like, wow, it's only three things. So tell us about that realization of like you can be productive with only three things on your list versus like 30.
Yeah, it's like this is like my favorite thing, and I love doing those stories, the ones that you're referencing, because the first like 2 or 3 times I did, I was like, people are gonna think I'm such a jerk, but I've actually gotten so much like positive from that and like interest from that, and so I really love that. Um, but yeah, so the way that I structure my days I feel like I have to say, like, disclaimer, it's not the right way for everybody. It's been a process of me figuring out what works for me. And that's like what I encourage, my clients and my friends and my peers to do too, is like, don't necessarily subscribe to like a one size fits all, like you have to do 100 things before 5 a.m. or whatever. Like, no, like be a scientist and figure out where you work best. So for me, I am not really a morning person. And I spent a lot of time trying to fix that or like change that about myself versus just saying, okay, I'm not really a morning person. When am I my most productive? I'm my most productive when most people are groggy. I'm my most productive at like 1:30 p.m. is when I really hit my stride. And so I sort of structure my day, like my morning. This is the first thing that I'm doing this morning. We started at like 11. The rest of my morning prior to this has been about like me time and journaling and writing some ideas that come up and being kind of creative and like letting that kind of stuff happen without there being like this forced regimented, like I got to get X things done by this time. Like it's just kind of been like, what do I want to do right now? What do I want to create right now? And in that, like generally I get inspired to maybe outline a podcast or write an email or write an Instagram caption, but it's not like a hard and fast rule, if that makes sense. Very like wavy answer. So
Yeah.
that's generally the kind of morning. And then starting around like 11 is just when I start like doing stuff. So meeting with clients or recording for my podcast or creating like content for, programs or things like that. And I try to stick to the rule of like 2 to 3 objectives during a day. And the way that I look at it, and I've struggled with this in the past, I've struggled with this kind of like controlling person coming out and being like, from 11 to 12 I'll do this, from 12 to 1 I'll do this, and that works for some people, but that doesn't work for me. That I instantly kind of rebel against that. Like when I see it written out, I'm just like, I'm not going to do that. And so like in accepting that about myself, I've sort of looked at it more as like, these are all the things I would love to get done this week. What 2 or 3 things can I pull from it for this day? Like what feels exciting? What feels fun? What feels like something I want to do? Are there days that I do things that aren't my favorite? Yeah, but like those are getting less and less and less the more that I bring on support and ask myself, why are those part of my business if I don't love doing them? You know what I mean? So does that kind of answer your question? It's a little vague. Hopefully
No,
that was.
I love it, and I love that you're calling them objectives, like, instead of your to-do list, it's like your key points, and, in the beginning when you were like, "I feel like a jerk on showing up on social media saying this," and I'm like, "No," like, I feel like you're modeling such a good thing because it is very clear that your business is put together, right? That you have an organized brand, that you show up consistently, like, you're doing all the things that, like, a hyper-focused, you know, like organized work 45 hours a week person would do. So I think to show that you can have that and still work less or think of it in a more light and airy way, I think that's so awesome. Like that's inspiring. I don't think that's going to, make people be like, oh gosh, there she goes. She's only got 3 things to do today. Because it's very clear that you do so much more. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
this is a very like the way that we perceive our workload and what that looks like.
Yeah. No, I totally appreciate that. And that kind of like, I guess to go back to what I was saying about the intention thing is like it gets to, with that approach, for me it really gets to depend on like what feels really good, what feels really fun, and I believe that that bleeds into how I show up on Instagram stories or whatever, versus in the past when I've struggled with like, almost being too controlling and gripping too tight onto things. It's been like, okay, well, it's Tuesday and I said on Tuesday I was going to go on Instagram stories and I was going to talk about this and then I was going to end with a pitch, and then I would get on there and I would do it, but it would just like feel bad. And I imagine it felt bad to the viewer watching it because I felt bad delivering it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's really hard to stick to that stuff when it's so forced. And your
Mhm.
morning routine is like what I like to call my white space. So I'm the
Mhm.
same way. Like my to-do list is like, why do I even waste a piece of paper? Because it'll be like one thing on Monday and 2 things on Tuesday. And it's like this perfect, like one of those weekly calendars. I'm like, it looks so empty. But I have to have it that way so that I can have like my white space. So I know like, okay, before I have this call, like I don't have anything that I have to do. So that can be my white space, my thinking time or
Yeah.
whatever. And, I think before we kind of learned that balance, it's so easy to just fill the day, right? Like
Mhm.
just fill the day with to-dos. And then you're constantly like disappointed that you didn't get everything done.
Yeah, yeah, and that's definitely like I get a little nervous sometimes when I like kind of like eh, on like productivity hacks and things like that, because I do think it works for some people, but I think it's really important to recognize like if that's not how you thrive, like nothing's wrong with you. Just find a way that feels good for you. And I think I spent a lot, like if I think about like my entire life, I think I've spent, and we talked about this a little bit when you're on my episode, I think, or my podcast, I think, but like I spent most of my life trying to fit into like an extremely organized type A person, and I
Hmm.
can do, but do I thrive doing that? Like I don't know. I don't really think so.
No, I completely agree. I'm like, I've tried all the Trello board templates, and then I tried like a content calendar on Google. I'm like, everyone else has a content calendar. Like, I can't survive if I don't have a content calendar. Like, what's wrong with me? And I
Yeah.
really felt like something was wrong with me that I just couldn't get it down. And I have Planoly, but like I use it as like a dumping ground. Like I don't plan my social media content. That will never be me. And I
Mhm.
finally had to just accept like that it will never be me and my business can still thrive. It's just going to look different than someone else's. And that's what I
Yeah.
love helping like the visionaries and the type B people out there. Like it is okay. It is okay. We don't have to fit into like this template world. Like, the
Yeah.
shiny objects of like download this free thing and it'll solve all your problems.
Spoiler alert, it won't.
I'm like, no, it's just making me feel like a failure that I keep buying these things and nothing is working. So finally, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, like this is how I'm meant to work. My desk is a little messy. I scribble a lot. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally, yeah. I think that's, it's interesting that how much like parts of our journeys overlap. But yeah, that has been quite the lesson for me to come and
Right. Well,
accept
and
and
I
embrace.
totally thought you were like this type A, super organized person. Like,
I think I ride the middle ground in so much in my life. Like, I don't know if you're into astrology or if any of your listeners
yeah,
are,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm a Pisces sun and a Virgo moon. Like I'm like
Mhm.
polar opposite. So I think I'm type AB. Like I think there's parts of me that can be really organized and my brain does work in patterns and things like that. But there's parts of me that like I can tell now through years of working through this, I can tell now that when I start getting into my calendar and being like from 12:15 to 12:25, I'll drink some water. From 12 to like that's not my highest self showing up. Like that's not like that's not good energy and that's
Yeah.
like I can go that far. Like I have gone that far and it's doesn't serve myself or anyone.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think I have a little bit of both too. I mean, I think personality wise, I'm like as type B as you get, but I'm also like extremely punctual. And I think
Mhm.
a true, laid back, which is like the big part of type B people, is think they're very laid back. I think they don't get like physical anxiety over time.
Mhm.
So I think I definitely like carry a lot of both too, but I just know
Yeah.
like to thrive, I have to have that like white space, that creative freedom, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I totally, yeah, yeah. I think for the most part with anything that's like kind of um maybe understood to be like binary like that, like I kind of think of it as like, well, it's a spectrum, like we have both. It's just like how do you show up? Like what's the high expression and the low expression, I guess would be. And that's like maybe getting like kind of into like weird personality type things. But I guess like I think probably everybody has type A and type B, and it's just like how does that show up, and how does
Totally.
it show up in a way that works best for you? So yeah.
Yeah. What is your do you know your Enneagram?
So yes, but also my James's client, my Team One More client, is an Enneagram person, and she uh, says that most people get their type wrong, and so now I'm like, oh my gosh, am I wrong? But I feel really right about this. A four wing three, so
Oh,
again, both right, creative
yeah.
and individualistic and all this stuff, but also like success driven, kind of entrepreneurial mind. So I
Yeah.
feel
Are
like
fours kind of rare or is that fives? One of them is kind of rare.
I think well I'm gonna hopefully there's no fours that feel offended by this because I'm saying this with a smirk. Fours definitely think they're the rarest. I don't know if they're actually the rarest.
I can totally see that. I can totally see that. So I'm a
Yeah.
two wing three, or at least that's like what I tested as. And I do think it's very accurate because I think in my personal life, like I am
Mhm.
hardcore too. Like I get super like butt hurt if somebody doesn't like me, all those things. And I love to help people and I thrive on helping people. But in my business, there's definitely like a little bit of that entrepreneur, like high achieving
Yeah.
mentality. And then there's overlap, of course. But yeah, I think that that's that's pretty much me. I can't really find myself in a lot of the other ones. The
Yeah. Sometimes
creativity.
I can see. Sorry,
Yeah.
I cut you off.
No, no, no. I think there's probably a little bit of 4 or 5, whatever the creative one is. Isn't 7 creative too? I think a lot of them are.
Yeah, I think I sometimes get confused if I might be a 7, because 4 wing 3 and 7 often get like mistyped. But I think when I read the 4 versus I think the 4 I rejected it at first, which makes me feel like it must be true because like we're kind of an angsty teen, and so I feel like they'd be like, I'm not a 4, and I just feel
Yeah.
like that's a very 4 behavior. So to me, it's like fulfills that I must be,
Oh my
if that
gosh,
makes
that's so
sense.
funny. I have so many friends that are ones. Like I think sometimes we can attract a certain type. But I'm like so not a one. Nope. Nope. Nope.
Yeah, I
Nope.
don't know that one either. I'm not. I think my sister's a t- 2 wing 1 or a 1
Mhm.
wing 2 or something like that. And I was like, yeah, that fits her.
Oh my
she's
gosh.
definitely more organized and type A than like on that spectrum conversation. She's a lot closer on to the type A than I
Yeah, I'm so far from it. Oh my gosh. So knowing that about yourself, like what are some tips or like we're like the anti-hacks so far in this conversation, but what are some
am.
hacks? I guess in like the mindset category of like how can people kind of, forgive themselves or learn to lean into that highest good instead of trying to like fit ourselves into a box constantly.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's honestly one of the biggest um like I guess I don't want to say battles, that's so dramatic. One of the biggest things that you can really overcome and work through, and it's going to be a lifelong journey for sure. Like, how can I stop making everything about myself wrong and start just like loving what I've got and what I'm bringing to the table? And I think in kind of the mindset-y space, there's like a lot of conversations around like healing this and processing this and fixing that. And like I do think there's space for healing traumas and things for sure. But I also think there needs to be a conversation about like what about just accepting and loving and owning everything that you're bringing to the table? Like what about that? What if and I could get like on a soapbox about it, but to me I'm like as women, like that's the most powerful thing we can do and the thing that we've been taught for generations not to do, not to be like, nope, I'm awesome as is. Like, and so what an act of like rebellion and power to like actually say no, like I'm awesome, period.
Yeah.
Like and
Yeah.
love that. So I guess like a hack would be like how can you start to pay attention to when you're beating yourself up in your head, when you're telling yourself that you're wrong or you're broken or whatever, and how can you start to question that and challenge that and say like, well, maybe I'm actually so right. A question that one of my coaches posed to me over a year ago that I ask myself a lot is, what if there's nothing left to do? Like, what if I'm just good enough right now? And so that is something that you can definitely take and journal about if you're interested in this conversation.
Yes, I always say like I have everything I need, which I think is the same concept, right? Like
Mhm.
and that's probably where you and I like have different mental narratives where you're like beating yourself up like there should be more to do. I need to get more done. Where I'm like, I need X, Y, and Z. It's like, what if I already have everything I need within me? And for me, like solving so many of my money blocks, my money mindset issues was like stopping the I need
Mhm.
narrative and like just saying I have everything I need. Like I could lose everything tomorrow and I could still help people and I could still serve. I don't need the house that we have, like just knowing that I truly don't need anything else. And it's crazy how like we can fix something or like not even fix, accept, right?
Mhm.
Accept something on the inside and it completely changes the world around us on the outside.
Oh, yeah. It's literally magic to me, but yes. I agree. I totally, totally agree. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, so in like the mindset stuff, like what would you say like if you could hand pick your clients, which we all kind of do, but like what makes you different or what makes them different like in the mindset space? Like I feel like you're really getting into a place where you're finding your unique voice and your unique like talking pillars or whatever. But what's your favorite way to articulate that?
Yeah. So I've actually, this has been quite the ongoing like thought experiment for me. And where I've landed is the people that I think I best connect with and best serve are pretty new but open-minded to this idea of like let's talk about your mindset, let's talk about your thoughts, let's journal about that. I've come to find that I can really break down these sorts of conversations in a way that like isn't so down the like woo woo rabbit hole that it's off putting to somebody that has no idea what you're talking about. And they're like, "What? Do I need crystals? Like what?" Like those are not like I have all of those things, but I think I'm can balance kind of, again, riding down that middle lane of you're kind of open to it and you want to learn more, but you're not like diving in head first. And I'm like, hey, like let's dip some toes in together. And so my
Yeah.
my most ideal people are like they're okay with and open to the woo. Call them like woo curious. I often joke that I'm just one woo, like instead of being woo woo. So
Oh, yeah.
those are kind of my sweet spot of people, like open minded, but uh, maybe not fully invested into that world yet.
Yeah, or like they're starting to like notice a limited belief when it happens.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I try to pinpoint when that happened for me. Like when we say things out loud and there's a distinct change when you start saying, "Oh, like I'm saying that, but like is that really true or is that an excuse?" You
Yeah.
start being a little bit more self-aware.
Mhm.
So, your people are probably kind of just stepping into that self-awareness
Yeah,
where
and from
they're
a
like,
business standpoint, they're like they have tried a handful, if not more than a handful, of different like strategies. They've bought, a course on this and a course on that, and like they haven't seen the results that they thought they would, and so they're starting to like recognize like is it that every course doesn't work or is there something else going on here? And so they're like
"Yeah.
kind of starting to like open this door that like maybe there's more than just like we were talking about earlier, more than just the strategy kind of piece. And so I'm like, hey, let's talk about your mindset a little bit.
Yeah, like how to show up in the world a little
Yeah.
differently." Like they're starting to realize that they're the common denominator or there's just that place of frustration,
Yeah.
And I remember when I was looking for a coach and when I actually met Raina, like just knowing that I was in such a sticky place of frustration and not knowing how to get out of it. Like,
Mhm.
and she always described it as like the hamster wheel. And, that was me a little bit, but I wasn't really stuck in the busy as much as I was stuck in like just a very confusing place. Right. And this is all like right before
Yeah.
the pivot. So a lot of it was probably like, being so happy being a photographer, but knowing that I was meant for more. And like, that is such a confusing place to be when you've worked so hard and you've built, this like business empire that you always dreamed of. And then you're like, but wait, something's not actually right. Like, it feels so
Yeah.
scary and crazy.
Yeah, completely. I think I've come to see that moment, like, because I agree, it's super scary and super like, what? But
Mm.
I did all this stuff. But I've come to see that now in retrospect as like, I guess it kind of in the conversation of like not making yourself wrong and stuff. But like I've come to see this as like, wow, how amazing that like my mind was like, there's more. Like I don't know, like I've come to like appreciate that about myself that like, oh, well, I'm glad to know that I won't be, hopefully a long time from now on my deathbed regretting things. Like I'm glad that there's something that's saying like, no, go after this thing. I'm glad that I have that. So maybe that's super silver linings and like annoying, but I kind
No,
of
I think everyone does. And I think that sometimes the people I feel, I hate to say like the most sad for, but like I hate when people don't have that like ambitious bug. And like that could be in corporate America. Like, sometimes I feel like, and people have told me this, so I'm probably feeling self-conscious, but it's like people are like, you judge people who aren't entrepreneurs, or I'm not good enough for you because I don't want to quit my day job. And it's like, no, like that is not it at all. The underlying factor is happiness here, is fulfillment,
yeah.
is I don't care if you are freaking like garbage man or work at a beauty salon or whatever that looks like just be operating from that beautiful place of like your highest good or fulfillment or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's all about for me, not necessarily like what we do or who we work for. And I had an actual point to that, but I think it's just that, oh, like you said, your intuition of like being thankful that there is that little voice on your shoulder that's like, you can do more, be more, whatever.
Yeah. 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 Totally. And I completely agree with that. Like, I mean, my was it my grandma that used to say this? I can't remember exactly how she used to frame it. I think I was really young. I can't remember the whole context of the story. I was really young, and I think I was saying that like, oh, they had to have a plumber come over, and I remember being really grossed out by like the idea of what a plumber would have to be like dealing with. And I remember saying like, and I had to be like 5 or under. And I remember saying something to the effect of like, I would never want to do that, or I would hate to do that, or something like that. And my grandma was like, well, thank goodness this is this guy's passion or something. And I was like, wait, like people want to do that. And how amazing that like somebody wants to do that. And there's a reason that I don't want to do that because that's not my purpose. But like that the next person, what they want to do, like that's their purpose. And there's a reason they want to do it because they're like, not to get too down the woo thing, but like divinely equipped to be able to do those things and do them well. And so
Yeah,
whatever
and,
that
like,
looks
love
like.
it. Like, how many, people have you seen that have jobs that would not be fun for us, but they do it with a smile on their face? Like, that is, those are like angels on earth. Like, that's what it's all about. Like, just being
Yeah.
happy and loving what you do. Like, nobody wants to go up to the cash register for, grumpy Gus or whatever.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, I think all the time, like, and to take that the other way and say, like, whatever it is that, someone's listening to this, like, whatever it is that you do want to do, I believe there's a reason you want to do it. And there's a reason that I don't want to do it, or that, so and so doesn't want to do it. Like, you want to do it because you're meant to do it. And you should really honor that. It's kind of,
Yeah,
I'm just on a
and
lot
so
of soapboxes
no,
today.
I love it, but and sometimes it's just part of that experiment or it's a stepping stone, like, people are always like, "Well, what if I do this and I don't like it?" So that's great, that's feedback, that means you can move on to the next thing,
Mhm.
like, I would never be doing what I'm doing if I hadn't, started photography in some way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
and, like, I remember just always having that weird, like, I told the principal at school before I got hired as a teacher, I was like, "Well, I'll just, like, sell T-shirts or something so that I can coach and work here part-time." And, like, people literally just, like, laughing at me, and I'm like, "What?" Like,
Yeah.
why does
Makes
that seem
sense.
so silly? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I totally feel that.
It's so
What a
funny.
good conversation. I love
I
that.
know, oh my gosh. Okay, so tell us, like, what you're currently working on, like, what are your big, like, things that are happening right now?
Yeah. So this is actually the first place that I'm like even gonna hint at something new that's on the horizon.
Oh, yay.
Um, I mean, it's like a super low key hint. Like it's not really saying much, but I am working on. I'm calling it like a mini course because it's not going to be like a full fledged like signature course or anything like that. But I'm working on content and help around this idea of a lot of what we've been talking about today. Like this idea of doing what you want to do and not letting things like imposter syndrome or comparisonitis like even be an issue anymore, like really working through those things, letting those things fall away so that you can continually step up and like do what you want to do what you're meant to do. And so that is in the works for next month. So we're, I don't know when this will air, but that will be like mid to late September coming out, and I'm very excited about it because what I've learned over basically my whole business, but especially within the coaching time frame, is that there's a lot of content out there that says, here's how to launch this thing, and here's how to, get these clients, and here's how to do this, and here's how to do that. And they kind of leave out this like missing step of like, but what if you don't believe in what you're doing? Like, what if you don't believe in yourself? And like, none of those things are going to work if you don't, like, you can't, you're not, it's going to be really hard to sell offers if you don't believe in your offers. And so, trying to help people with that kind of first hurdle so that they can continue to step into who they are meant to be or want to be, without those pesky little things telling them that they're not good enough.
I love it. I love it. So how are you like gonna speak to the pain point? So like people that are listening, like what are they specifically struggling with that this would solve? Like I'm hearing like the imposter syndrome, and like for me when I first like talked to a leadership coach, she's like, "You have an inner mean girl." And I was like, "What? I'm the most confident person ever. How dare you say I have an inner mean girl?" But I totally did, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, definitely those things. I think another big, like, way to tell that this is impacting you, or at least what I've experienced with a lot of clients, is not taking action, is finding reasons to not take action. So
Ooh,
either it's like shifting ideas or saying I got to do XYZ thing, or suddenly being too busy and like kind of creating like self-sabotaging patterns that keep you from just putting yourself out there and
paralysis
really
of
stepping up.
analysis.
Yeah.
That was
And
always
so I think
mine.
that's the biggest kind of pain point is like, to be honest, it sounds kind of silly when you say it like this, but like just not doing anything, wanting to do things, but finding a million and a half excuses why you can't do it. And so, I mean, and that's things that I've experienced. That's the thing a lot of the clients that I'm working with have experienced where they're just like, I know I can do this, but I'm like,
Right,
I'm
I
like,
don't have time.
yeah.
You know, like, and I sometimes I wish I could just, like, pinpoint, like, the moments where I learn these things, and sometimes it's not a moment, it's over time, but
Mhm.
realizing that the biggest lie I was telling myself about everything was I don't have time, and
Mhm.
just got so sick of, like, my answer always being like, "When things calm down, I'll do X, Y, and Z. When things calm down, I'll go have dinner with my friend. Like, next
Yeah.
week, things are gonna be a little bit more settled. Don't worry, like, next month, nothing's on my calendar." And, like, literally the time was just going by, and
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it or, what, like, probably came across you at some point in my life, like, I just realized, like, I am in control, like, of my time, and this is not cool. Like, get
Yeah.
your shit together.
That's one of my, like, best performing Instagram posts. I can't remember exactly what it says, but it's something to the effect of, like, uh, "There's a reason why none of your time hacks or productivity hacks are working." It's like, 'cause that's not the issue. Like, it's
Yes,
a little deeper than
totally.
just, like, using the Pomodoro method or whatever. So
Totally, that needs to be, like, your pitch or your sales page for the mini course. That's so awesome, that's so exciting. My people will
Yeah.
definitely love that. So you're
Thank you.
thinking September?
Yeah, so the goal right now, it's roughly outlined, as far as, like, when I would want to record things and everything, and so mid to late September is the goal, and I'm gonna be, like, putting out like, I'm kind of as you mentioned, like, getting really, more specific with kind of the pillars and the things that I talk about. That's been really, like, rapid pace in the past probably 4 months or so, and so, like, this is going to be an ongoing conversation. This is just, like, a way for me to help people that aren't ready to go to one-on-one coaching yet. Like, I wanted there to be something that's like, let's get you started with this. But, like, things like imposter syndrome and owning how much you do know and the experience you do have, like, these are going to be things that I talk about forever
Yes, and, like,
for the
people
rest of the time.
changing their relationship with time and changing their relationship with, like, money or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So good, so exciting. Okay, so, like, big picture wise, like, think, like, 3 to 5 year, like,
Mm.
dreams. What are you, like, most excited about?
Oh man. So there'll be a book at some point because
Ooh,
I totally want to be able to say, like, "Hi, I'm Kaitlyn, da 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 author, da 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 da." So, like, at some point there will be a book. Like, I'm putting that out into the universe. That might
do
be
you
like
like to
5
write?
years. I actually really do. Whenever the conversation comes around, like, outsourcing and things like that, the for what I have outsourced already, like, copywriting is kind of comes up as, like, maybe that should be the next thing. I'm like, that's gonna be hard for me to give up because I actually really like writing. And
Yeah.
it's funny because it's like, uh, this is, like, sassy, but and I think it's part of this, like, rebellious, like, "I'll show you" vibe that I sometimes step into. I have a teacher in high school that told me that I write too much like how I speak, like I didn't write formally enough. And there's this maybe mean girl inside of me that's like, well, people seem to like it now. And so I
Yes.
totally
Well, and I think
want,
that's the thing of, like, this generation, like, people are writing how they talk. All the
yeah.
people that, we, aspire from or, like, learn from, do that, and that's the thing with copy nowadays is, like, people want to be able to see your personality, and, I have a couple friends who are English majors who are still very much stuck in the very formal
Mhm.
writing, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "Okay, English majors are gonna freaking love that blog post, but I'm asleep by paragraph 2." You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I want, like, emojis and blog, like, I want the whole thing. Yeah.
Yes, you wanna feel it, totally.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
super awesome. I designed a planner, but I have so much, well, I don't you'll have to tell me what limited belief this is, but I did it very casually on Canva because this is a done is better than perfect project where I was like,
Yeah.
this is like an itch I can't scratch, that I just need to make this type B planner, dateless, messy success planner for creatives and just
Love
like
it.
do it. And it was like my pregnancy creative thing. But I have this limited belief that like it's not good enough yet for me to really promote it. So like
Oh.
I'm gonna wait till I can like outsource it to a designer and it's not just made on Canva, So I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
feel
know.
like, the question that I wanna ask is, like, how will you know when it's good enough, or what will change in you when it is good enough? But I also feel like, I mean, we talked about this in the past too, like, the messy success, like, idea and just, like, I'm gonna call it, like, its own, like, brand, like, it's just so perfect. Like I love it so much. And
Oh,
so I
yay.
am like the biggest fan of like, no, that needs to be out there. Like people need it. So I'm going to
Yeah, I
push
mean,
you
it
to do
is
that.
out there. I mean, not like out there, like I'm not talking about it. I'm like, okay, it's in my highlights and it's on my website. But, and a couple of people have bought it, like a couple of like my people, and they've loved
Mhm.
it. But I have all these limited beliefs that like, well, it's like not very formally bound and it's made on Canva. So like you're right. Like what does, and I was hoping you would throw a coaching question at me, like, what is it gonna look like when it is perfect? So I'm like, maybe that is just feeling like it's a little bit more unique and branded versus being on Canva or like, but I don't know. It's kind of like the MO is the done is better than perfect. So I don't know. That's such a good,
Yeah.
I have to like ponder that because I am really passionate about it and people do love it. But yeah, it's like this little like, it's not quite good enough yet voice.
Yeah, I totally get that, but I kind of feel like it fits the messaging, it fits the branding, and just because I know like this is what you believe too, like isn't there such an opportunity to get it out there, get feedback, get people saying, "Oh, I loved this page, I hated this page, I never used this page," etc. And then spend the time and the money and all that, maybe updating it a little bit. But
No,
I would
you're so right, and that was one of the reasons why I put it out when I did, was like, I'd rather just get it in people's hands, like, do they care that it doesn't have dividers? Is that a deal breaker? All those things.
yeah.
I love
And I'm gonna
it.
assume that they all love it and that none of those things are deal breakers.
Yeah, yeah, so far I think they do, and then, it's not like one of those $80 planners either. I think the price point's like $29
That's
for a
perfect.
year-long, like, dateless planner, so, I'm like, it's not meant to compete with, like, the Cultivate What Matters and stuff like that, so very different.
And also, wait, I just had this thought. I have in the past bought those planners, the ones that you're thinking about. And I've been so intimidated to actually write in them and like mess them up. So, what an opportunity for you to say, like, no, like scribble in it, like draw in it, doodle in it, like just go for it. Like, it's not too perfect that you're going to mess it up with your weird thoughts and your bad handwriting. So,
Yes.
I
No,
kind of love that.
I completely agree. And mine has like tons of duplicate pages. It's really the whole entire planner is made out of like 5 or 6 pages. So you have
Mhm.
so many like do-overs and, you know, I don't know. We'll see. That was a fun conversation. I didn't know we were going to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Um,
Put it
okay.
in the
So,
show notes.
so a book is definitely on your list. Anything else on your long-term game plan that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I think like big, big, big picture. I definitely see things that you're interested in too. Like I see like a more of an emphasis on community. I don't know if that looks like one day having, a co-working space or something like that, but I do definitely see there being this kind of like need for this is me like totally off. I might
No,
regret
I
saying
love
this
it
too.
because I can tell you're like actually picturing it. I love it.
But I think there's this need, kind of like the pedestal I was on earlier about like women just loving themselves. Like I think that is not a solo journey. And so I don't know what it looks like to have a community or support with that, but I want that to be part of my, I guess, like legacy or impact or whatever. Is that through the lens of, and then let's run a business and make money? Yes. But I think like if you zoomed out even from that, it's more about like women being like, this is who the F I am and I'm awesome. Like
Yeah,
that's
and
kind of
like
the
taking
conversation I want to
control
be a
of your
part
own
of.
life, like taking
Yeah.
control of your life and your happiness, you
Yeah.
know?
So that's kind of the like big picture of where I want to be in the world.
Yay, I love it. So exciting. Okay, well
Yeah.
tell everyone where they can find you.
Okay. So I mostly am on Instagram. It's Kaitlyn S. Kessler because somebody else had the regular one. So had to throw the middle initial in there. And I mostly just hang out on there. So I do a lot of Instagram stories and I post fairly often and really love interacting with people in the DMs. And then website is just KaitlinKessler.com. And as of now, that's really it. There is a Facebook, there's a Pinterest, but I don't really do much on those.
Yes, and I love the name of your podcast too, the Effortless podcast.
Oh
And it
yeah,
kind of
and I have
like
my own podcast.
yeah, no, that I meant to say that earlier in the episode because we were talking about names and I do love like the name Effortless. Someone even DM'd me from my episode and was like, I love this so much.
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
I know. And I really feel like that really encompasses like one of your overarching messages of like, happiness in business can be effortless. And it
Yeah,
can
thank
be.
you.
Like I feel like I've really hit a stride where like I don't work that hard and it feels really good. Aligned
Yeah.
AF. That's also my shop. I've just made a shirt that says Aligned AF.
I love that so much. Yeah. No, I love that. And I think effortless has always been a word that there was part of me that felt nervous that I was going to be putting out this message of like people like I don't do anything. And it's not that I don't do anything like we talked about earlier. It's just that I do things that I really like. And so, yeah, there's work, but it's work that I'm having so much fun doing that it gets to feel effortless. And like, that's just, it sounds so cheesy, but I'm just like, guys, like everyone, like, come on, like it could be so much easier. Like come hang out with me over
Yeah.
here.
No,
Like I
but
just
like
want
I
to like
said,
invite everyone in.
yeah, and I think you are the perfect person to be putting that out there because it's very clear that your brand as a whole is not like without intention or without effort, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I am kind of messy and that's very much out there. So I feel like if I was like, just be a little bit more effortless, they'd be like, okay, Liz, that's why you have 45 fonts in your feed right now. Like, because there is a balance of like having your stuff together, right? And for me, it's okay because I'm owning the imperfect, like the messiness of it. And it can be
Love
effortless. And
that.
I do feel like it's effortless for me. But no, I think you're like the perfect person to put that out there because it's like,
Thank
look
you.
how put together everything can be and still feel effortless, not
Thank
like
you.
the hot mess express.
I
What
mean, I love the Hot Mess Express.
I have my strengths, I do, but like using two fonts is not one of them. I'm always like, how many designers out there are judging me right now for all my fonts that are
For
happening?
the record, I have never judged you.
Oh man, I'm like, whatever, I'll do it later. So much more done is better than perfect in my life right now.
Yeah, I think that's the sweet spot. I say own that.
Okay, well, we are going to be looking for your mini course. So as soon as that
Thank
is like up and ready and running, send it over to me and we'll make sure that that's available. And I'm so glad you got to join me today. Anything else you want to
you.
share?
No, I'm just so grateful. This was so much fun. I can't wait to like listen to it back on podcast platforms. This was so much fun. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm just really
Yeah,
grateful.
we'll talk soon. I got to get you on the Voxer land.
Okay, done. Sign me up.
Uh, all right. Thanks, girl. All right. Isn't Kaitlyn so great, you guys? I seriously can't wait till all this pandemic stuff is over and I can meet all of these people like in person that I've been chatting with like on a weekly basis. But I was really excited to share her with you guys. I'm going to put all of her information in the show notes. Her website is KaitlynKessler.com, and you can go find all of her links and her podcast, our podcast episode together, all of those goodies at elizabethhenson.co/E53. elizabethhenson.co/E53. And I'm going to put all the goodies there for you guys. And you guys can go hang out with Kaitlyn and meet her, follow her on Instagram, all of that good stuff. And if you missed last week's episode, all about the lip bar, episode 52, please go back and take a listen. I have a special coupon code for you guys to get 10% off. So I fell in love with the lip bar because this is an amazing company that is run by women of color. It is all vegan products and they sell this makeup kit called Fast Face. And it comes with everything you need. So if you're like me and you don't know how to girl and you don't know how to put colors together, you just select your skin tone and they put all the makeup you need in one bag and it is awesome. Like I literally do my makeup in less than 5 minutes every day and it looks so good. I've gotten so many compliments on it. So if you missed that episode, go check out episode 52, all about the lip bar. I absolutely love this company and I'm so excited to partner with them. Okay, so that's all for today. I will see you guys next week. The girls and I are heading to Charlottesville to see my aunt this weekend. So I'm tying up all my loose ends and getting ready for that trip. It's going to be so fun. She kind of lives like out in the country. So we might see some cows and some horses and go on this beautiful drive. So we're really excited about that. But I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for joining us. And I love you guys.